Welcome back to the channel, everyone. And we are officially past the halfway point for our Jabber cosplay build. Make sure you subscribe if you like what we're doing here, or if you want to build along with us. Drop a comment on what you want to see next. We just have these last 3 videos to go, and we'll be on to the next series. This time around, we're focusing on the hood of the jacket for Jabber. And this one was probably a really easy one because I have so many hoodies. I just started by taking the seam loose on one of my old hoodies that I cut up for the gym. Didn't really need the hoodie part. I took the hood off and I used that to trace the pattern. Something interesting about this is if you Google, if you just Google a hood pattern, they all look like 95% exactly the same. You just size it up for the size of your head. And it's actually that simple. But I went ahead and I traced mine using the old hood just to make sure that it was the size I liked, because I really like the size of that hood. And then I went ahead and put that onto some parchment paper, and with that I was able to cut out fabric. And of course, as always, I made sure to use some sort of dummy fabric going in. So in this case, it's some black drapes that I had, some blackout curtains. I just went ahead and cut it out on that. So the majority of the video you'll see that blackout curtain as I'm just learning how to work with the seams. I'll go over it when we get into it, but there's a lot of nuance to doing the hood. Super easy, but if you do one thing wrong, it'll look stupid. So you have to really slow down and pay attention to what you're doing. I want to make sure that I tried it out first on some dummy fabric. So here we have our blackout curtain. I think it's important to note that some fabrics are thicker and just harder to work with, like jean fabric. This here blackout curtain is a little bit harder to work with. And it's a good idea to have some universal heavy-duty needles, just in case you're going to work with something that's, not your run-of-the-mill sheet type thin fabric. And then there's, I think, ballpoint needles for stretchy fabric and stuff like that. So just when you get the opportunity, make sure that you stock up on needles like that. They're usually like $4, $5 for a small pack of universals. In this case, I did not switch the needle, but I did break one, so just a heads up. So what you see me doing here, I've already traced it out and made my little pattern sheet, and now I'm just cutting it out from the fabric. You'll need 4 of this sort of universal hood shape for the pattern, and with those 4 you'll make the hood from that. You probably noticed I'm taking a few I'm taking a few liberties here, just because this isn't my official fabric for the hood for Jabber. So I'm folding over the fabric even though I'm using shears and not a straight cutter. That'll obviously make, I guess, each shape, each of the 4, not perfectly the right size because I'm using shears, so the fabric can slide. But in this case, it's good enough. It won't affect too much. It'll just have extra for the inseam. So I chose to just save myself some time and fold it over and cut out the rest of them at the same time. And that'll give us our 4 nearly identical shapes for the hood. Alright, all cut out. So let's take a closer look at that shape. So you can kind of see the front right here on the right. The bottom is where it's attached to the neck. Here's all 4 looking nearly identical. And then the way that I am laying them out now is so that I can sew around the curved edge. And you'll do that and make 2 of these, I guess, like pockets, I would call them. And that'll be the shape of the hood. and then later you'll put one inside the other, and that'll give you that double layer that you kind of feel whenever you rub your hood. So right now I'm just penning both, and then I'll sew each one. I'll try to zoom in and make sure you guys can see how I'm sewing around that curve, and I'm leaving about a 1/4 inch seam on the inside once I sew around. So here we're zooming in. Hope you guys can see. As I'm going, I pull the needle out. That helps me stay close to a 1/4 inch or whatever seam allowance I choose. Placing one hand on the opposite side and one hand on the close side also helps me keep it straight, especially going around that curve. You don't want to slip and ruin your seam. I mean, there's a seam ripper. You can take it apart, but at this point I had already done so much seam ripping and so much sewing. I just wanted to do it right for once and kind of move forward with the cosplay. I think this was maybe 2 days before the convention, so at that point I'm like, I can't really waste too much time. It's already bad enough I have to make this sort of dummy hood, but it was my first time, so I had to make sure that it came out with some level of quality. Alright, so now we have our 2 pockets. So I'm going to call them right now. It's really just a hood shape, but it's not attached to any shirt or jacket. So it's kind of open at 2 sides, 2 of the 3 sides. Right now they're both still inside out. So you can see that the seam still looks flat. You can see that 1/4 inch, you can see exactly where we put the stitch line. So that tells you that it's still inside out. So what we're doing here is we're turning one right side out. As you can see now, there's an indent where the seam is instead of you being able to see the actual stitch pattern. And you're going to tuck one inside the other. And that means you're going right side to right side. And then when you sew anything and you have right side to right side, that means that it's going to be inside out. So you'll still be looking at seam. Next up, we'll be sewing around the crown. So I'll slow down and highlight that for you. Make sure you don't sew all 4 sheets together. You want to sew 2 at a time. So take note that as I'm pinning this, I'm only pinning 2 sheets together. The 2 bottom sheets are not being pinned until after I do this top layer. That way you'll sew a crown. Alright, this side's almost ready. I want to zoom in and let you guys take a look. See how only 2 pieces of the fabric are together on the outside, so that way we'll be sewing around the crown once we get back over to the sewing machine. Typically when I'm sewing, I start from the outer edge, but here I started from the center just to keep my head straight. Over onto the side, I want to show you we're still looking at the seams of it, which means that everything's still turned inside out. So here we are up close. I'm going to look at what we just accomplished. We're still looking at the seams. Once we sew the other side of the crown, then we'll be able to reach into the middle and pull this side out. And I'll show you that, guys, that too. But right now I'm going to start pinning the opposite side, and that'll finish out the crown. Alright, I want to slow this part down because you can really see the shape of the hood as I'm lifting it right here, and you can also get one final look at the fact that we're looking at the wrong side. So we're looking at the inside out version of this as we're doing all of this sewing. There we go. So now we can flip it the right side out by reaching in between the 2 shapes that we just put together. It's basically 2 hood shapes sewn together. You reach into the middle, pull inside out, and now you'll see none of the extra seam allowance. And you have a hood. That's it. The only thing left to do is to do a top stitch, and that'll be a 1/4 inch away from the face hole, which is what I've been calling the crown because it kind of goes around your head or around the face hole. So you'll sew a 1/4 inch away from that face hole, right across the top. They call it a top stitch, and that kind of holds the seam together, and it stops the two fabrics from sliding against each other, and it holds the shape of that hood. I chose not to speed this part up. I want to give you guys a good look at it's kind of formless until you add that top stitch. So you can see me fumbling around with it, trying to show like, hey, this is the hood. But until you add that top stitch right between my fingers right there at the face of it, the face hole, then it won't really come together. You can see that it's a hood, but it's kind of hard to hold the form without that top stitch. But there we go. Right there is where the top stitch will go, and it goes all the way around. I lost my footage for it, but it's literally just running it through with a straight line stitch. So let's try it on. This is still without the top stitch, but you can kind of see right there where the face hole is, right where the top stitch would go. Remember, that's a 1/4 inch from that seam. These arrows are pointing out where it would go, right around that face hole area. Pretty good fit. It looks almost exactly like the hood that I took it from, so that means I guess I did a good job measuring and adding that seam allowance. So here, this is the actual hood. Of course, for some reason, my phone wasn't recording, so I didn't get to go through the whole process of making a hood with the stretchy purple fabric, but it's the same steps. And here I am attaching it. Take a look at the fact that the shirt that I'm attaching it to is also inside out, so you can see all of the seams from when I put the shirt together. That'll actually be our next tutorial, how I put the shirt together. It was a nightmare, but we got through it. So the hood is inside out, the shirt is inside out. We're doing right side to right side, but you're looking at the inside out part, which is the wrong side, and you're just stitching across that neck hole all the way around in that circular motion. And then that'll be how you attach the hood. So now our hood for Jabber is complete. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys will be here next week, Friday 10 a.m., which will be the actual shirt itself. Make sure you subscribe if you want to also build along or just make this cosplay in the future. Make sure you save it. The playlist is up, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks, everyone.